All right, let's talk about a massive, and I mean massive, hidden risk that could be lurking inside your business right now. And it has nothing to do with fancy tech or complicated legal documents. Nope, it's all about people. And it's a gap that most companies are seriously failing to close. So let's just start with this number, because it's a big one. A staggering 83% of companies are not fully compliant with privacy regulations. Think about that. That is more than 4 out of every 5 businesses. And the reason why? Well, it's probably not what you think. And this quote right here just nails it. Companies spend a ton of money on the latest cybersecurity tools. They've got legal teams on standby, but they completely overlook the most critical factor, the human element. This is that hidden weak link we're going to dive into. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll unpack that 83% failure rate. Then, we'll get into the human factor. After that, we'll look at the very real costs of getting this wrong. And then we'll pivot to the solution, how training is the absolute key, and how you can start building what we call a human firewall. Okay, so first up, how do we even get here? How is it possible that more than 4 out of 5 companies are missing the mark on something so important? Well, to get it, you really have to understand the incredibly complex world they're all trying to operate in. The privacy landscape today it's like a giant tangled web. You've got Europe's GDPR, you have California's CCPA, and then industry-specific rules like HIPAA for healthcare. And look, these aren't just gentle suggestions. They are super strict rules on how data has to be handled, and they come with some seriously heavy penalties. Which brings us right to the heart of the issue. You can have the best, most expensive technology in the world. You can have policies written by the best lawyers, but none of it matters without the people who actually have to use the tech and follow the rules. This is that hidden human factor. Now, you can see here, companies are juggling a lot. The rules are complex, data is exploding, budgets are tight. It all feels overwhelming. But what's really fascinating is when you ask these companies to name the single biggest reason they fail, well, the picture gets a whole lot clearer. And there it is. A 2024 report from ISACA found that almost half of all organizations, 49%, said that a lack of, or just plain bad training was the #1 cause of their privacy failures. It's the most common answer by a long shot, and it's a huge red flag showing us exactly where the problem is. So, what happens when that training gap is just ignored? Well, this is where things go from being a line item on a compliance checklist to a full-blown business catastrophe. Let's look at the actual costs. First, let's talk money. The financial penalties can be absolutely mind-blowing. In 2023, Meta got slammed with a record-breaking €1.2 billion fine under GDPR. Regulators are not messing around. They will bring the hammer down on companies that don't comply. Second, these training gaps lead directly to data breaches. It's a straight line. Verizon's latest big report on breaches found that the human element was involved in 74% of them. That could be a simple mistake, someone misusing their access, or falling for a phishing email. Your people are by far your biggest risk factor. And third, there's the damage to your reputation, which might be the worst cost of all. A McKinsey survey found that 40% of customers, that's 2 out of every 5, would just walk away and stop doing business with a company after a data breach. Trust is everything, and one little mistake can completely destroy it. And look, this isn't just theory. Check out these real-world examples. An employee clicks a bad link in an email, boom, $400,000 fine. A company fails to train its staff on software updates, that's a $150,000 penalty. Someone on staff just didn't know the rules about sharing data, a $60,000 fine. Every single one of these traces right back to a failure in training. Okay, so we've laid out the problem pretty clearly. Now, let's flip this around and talk about the solution. This is where we need to change our thinking. Instead of seeing our employees as a liability, we can turn them into our absolute strongest line of defense. And it all happens through effective training. Good training is the linchpin because it gets to the root of the problem. It stops human error before it can even happen. It builds a culture where people actually care about privacy. And it takes all that dense legal stuff and turns it into simple, practical things people can do every day. This is how you build that human firewall. And this right here shows the difference perfectly. We all know check-the-box training, right? It's that boring, once-a-year slideshow that everyone just clicks through. Effective training, building a firewall, is completely different. It's ongoing. It's tailored to what people actually do in their jobs. And it's interactive, so people actually learn something. So how do you actually do it? How do you build that human firewall? Let's get into the real, actionable strategies you can use to create a training program that works, one that turns your biggest risk into your greatest strength. It really boils down to 5 core practices. First, training has to be ongoing, not just a one-and-done thing. Second, you have to tailor the content. What the HR team needs is totally different from what the IT team needs. Third, make it interactive. Quizzes, scenarios, something to get people engaged. Fourth, always cover the basics, like how to spot a phishing email. And fifth, measure if people actually understood it, not just if they completed it. And speaking of measuring, this is so key. Most companies, about 65% of them, just track who finished the training. But the real goal, the thing that actually matters, is seeing that number of incidents go down. The best companies focus on that second bar, because success isn't about finishing a course, it's about preventing a disaster. But honestly, none of this works without this one crucial piece: leadership. When managers and executives are visibly on board, when they participate and champion this stuff, it changes everything. It stops being another boring, mandatory task, and it becomes a core company value that everybody actually takes seriously. So in the end, your technology and your policies can only take you so far. Your people are the real deciding factor. And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about for your own organization. When it comes to keeping data safe, is your team a compliance risk, or are they your strongest defense?